Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unit Lost. I am Josh, one amongst many Pemberton. Hello, it's good to see you again. I'm going to be bringing you some of the semi-finals action here, starting out with Philadelphia Fusion against NYXL, the Titans of NYXL, up against sort of the high-energy renegades that are Fusion. Like, I said this in a video that we recorded with Sty, where, you know, we had a discussion about sort of the quarters and the semis, and I said that if anyone could do it, it's Fusion, right? Fusion are the team that has, like, they are so momentum-based. They could come rolling through and take out NYXL. So, what happened? What went on in this series? Well, before we get to that, I want to focus in on one thing here on Dorado, and that is Mercy. I want to talk about Mercy quite a bit, because Mercy is a character that has been nerfed quite a lot, and is actually currently getting nerfed on PTR, and every single time it happens, without fail, the Mercy players come out. Mercy, probably one of the most popular heroes in the game. And there she is. All the Mercy players come out and say, well, why is this happening? Do you hate Mercy? Oh, you hate Mercy so much. But if you actually look at the highest level meta, well, Mercy is kind of defining the game somewhat right now. I'd say like Widowmaker probably defines it more at the moment, but Widow Mercy as a combo is extremely powerful, and it's very unusual not to see these two heroes unless you're running a very tank heavy comp, in which case you'll see Lucio and Moira start coming out a little bit more. But mostly you're going to see Zen Mercy, Widowmaker of some variety at the highest level of the game. The big thing I want you guys to focus on as we roll out this footage: Philadelphia running double sniper, Ryan Zarya, pretty standard, NYXL running something a little bit different, dive tanks coming out, Tracer, Widowmaker, playing to their strengths but playing something a little bit outdated. First kill goes super quick onto Arc. This gives Philadelphia Fusion a huge amount of momentum. You can see that NYXL instantly pull back, right? They want none of this. They know that they are on the back foot. That Mercy loss is huge. Anyone else dies, it's okay. You got your get out of jail free card. You can just pick that person back up, because Mercy's quite good at doing that, and tanks these days, very good, very efficient at picking up dead people, basically, you know, helping cover the resurrect effectively. So you can see Philadelphia Fusion, they just roll on through, and there's barely been a fight happening, right? There's just been kind of one shot fired. Oh look, there's the second one. Arc drops. Instantly, Fusion have a huge advantage. They just, you know, EQOB is a little bit careful, rightly so. It's Jonak he's looking at, Zenyatta that can kill just about anybody. But now Fusion come together, stand behind Shadow's barrier, roll forward, just roll onto the point. Beautiful shot out of Carpe, just deleting the tiny little header Tracer. Very well done there. Manages to get onto Pine, cleans up, no problem, no fuss, no muss. Philadelphia Fusion taking first point in convincing fashion. Now then, one of the hard parts of Dorado is transferring from first point to second, as we get a replay from Carpe of just, you know, missing Pine, I believe. Yes, there it is, missed shot, and then just beauty of a shot onto Sabielby. Just gorgeous. Anyway, I love this out of Shadow. One of the hard parts coming out of first point is what to do with your Reinhardt. So advancing forward up here, scouting a little bit, poking your nose out, taking a little bit of space, just seeing what's going on, seeing if anyone's maybe over here. Maybe he wants to look for an Earth Shadow if they all come out that side. It also gives him flexibility. As you can see here, he can get to the high ground on the opposite side, or he can just jump down. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that that's intentional, especially because both of NYXL's tanks do drop down and fight him on the low ground. Jonak playing with fire so much. He's like infra sights out, and he's just stood in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful use of the Dragon Strike, though, does force out the Transcendence early. You can see NYX Fusion using that Valkyrie very intelligently, pulling back, getting all the healing from it, getting all the resources for it. Because it lasts so long, they can wait and just bide their time, let the Transcendence burn out, and then force New York Excelsior into a bad position. They sort of all get stuck in this courthouse against Shadow, who's a Reinhardt. He's looking to just swing the hammer, drop the hammer, and clean everything up. Fusion in such a good spot now, have Graviton Surge. Jonak doesn't have an ultimate to use to counter it. Boombox is going to have his Transcendence. Fusion can just sort of walk this one in. No matter what happens, Hotbar can just end this fight by deleting a single tank with a grab. So if they're worried, they probably shouldn't be. This is, though, beautiful play out of Sabielby. He does this all match long. Not only does he bully out the Transcendence, he kills the Mercy with a Pulse Bomb. That stick is incredible. Meanwhile, Hotbar's used his Graviton Surge on point, but it's not come to any results because Sabielby has clutched it out for his team. Sabielby is so good at this. If you are a Tracer player and you want to think about how to play Tracer, go watch a lot of Sabielby footage. Take notes from some of the stuff he's doing. let me just give you a couple of highlights. Saebiobi, oftentimes when there's no fighting, spends a lot of time setting up position. You can see him there going up and round onto the flank. He spends so long getting ready for the next fight that gives him a good position to get in on targets as Philadelphia Fusion now swap their tank lineup up. Ryan Zarya, not the most effective on second point, especially if you need to go and contest a Widow on the sort of the long distances that second point, especially at the end here, can accommodate for. So Fusion going to take it steady, just try and slowly muscle the way into a position where they can actually get a proper engagement going, pick out where the enemy Widowmaker is, for example, as well. They need that info, they need to know where it is. Carpe drops the info site now, so they can see where she is. Okay, she's locked on that bottom corner, gets to a position where now, from here, you can jump on just about anything. Enemy team split, but Sado goes in, starts pressuring out the Widowmaker as much as possible. Counter dive comes in, but Neptuno has his Valkyrie all ready to go. Counter dive gets nothing. Hanzo, very good at actually stopping up what Trace is trying to do. He can just sort of delete you with a single arrow, cuts off the rest of the team with a Dragon Strike, and that is bish bash bosh, second point done. Philadelphia taking it slow, being allowed, I'd say more than anything, to get into a position, and with the healing that Valkyrie outputs, Tracer becomes so much less of a threat overall, right? If you know that the Tracer's going to come in, she doesn't have Pulse Bomb, then you could just Valkyrie, keep everybody alive. If the Tracer and sort of the Winston as well comes in on a dive, then Valkyrie's going to keep you safe, keep that safety net up and running. The healing output is enough where everybody's just a-okay. And Valkyrie is such a cheap ultimate that if the enemy team just backs out, well, it's still probably okay. Right? Valkyrie builds up nice and fast, which I think the new nerf will help address a little bit as well. Okay then, we're on third point now. Third point is a little bit different to the rest of the map. Widowmaker starts being a lot less effective here. The sightlines are okay, but it's more the distances that are the problem. Winston's, for example, can reach just about anywhere in this internal environment. It's also a little bit trickier to sort of, once you commit your cooldowns on this map as on this part of the map as Widowmaker, you are very much committed, right? You sort of are either lodged in the enemy backline, maybe out in the open on the higher ground. It's very obvious what you're trying to do. Saebiobi with another hero play, like this guy is trying to carry his team. He's trying to put sort of NYXL in his backpack and take him the full distance, but He's struggling a little bit. That said, NYXL in a really good place right now, right? They have support ultimates. They have Mano's ultimate, which is actually, when the enemy team's playing double sniper, Primal Rage is a very, very potent little ultimate because it just guarantees that you basically delete the Widowmaker from that fight for a little while. Or you can use it to pressure out sort of Zenyatas, stuff like that. Collect a kill onto those. Devolon goes in to cover the engagement. Pressure goes onto Boombox straight away. Dragon Strike sort of comes across the point. You know, if I had to question anything throughout this entire phase, I would say that EQO's Dragon Strikes on third looked a little bit spotty. Not quite sure what the aim of them was, but yeah. Saebiobi again putting the team in his backpack. Neptuno has to activate the Valkyrie just to keep this fight going, but it's sort of, the momentum is shifted against you. And this is the thing I would say about Valkyrie as well, though they do a good job of, you know, trading this out for a Transcendence on what is essentially feels like a one fight. Carpe actually comes back into it, swings in a big way. This, of course, is what Widowmaker can do. She can start popping some heads off. Saebiobi with another Pulse Bomb scoops up another kill. Someone asked, I think it was Dante put out a tweet, pro player Dante put out a tweet saying, you know, oh, why does Tracer's ultimate only deal 300 damage when a Widowmaker headshot does the same? This is kind of why, right? Tracer builds them up so quickly. They're quite easy to put on tanks, especially if they do 400 damage, then it's, you know, tanks just stop existing, effectively. It was a reason why tanks were sort of kept under control. Anyway, Carpe swapped off the Widowmaker, gone onto the Brigitte. Even more healing now coming out on both sides. Saebiobi on Brigitte of his own. And so what this means is that kills are going to be much harder to get. Triple support means that you need some sort of decisive burst damage. But somehow Carpe takes just a boatload of damage on the way in. I don't know whether Pine landed a I don't know. No, Pine didn't land a shot. We were on Pine. So I'm guessing like something hit him. Jonak probably hit him. Mano goes in, scoops up the kill on that one, I believe. And so that one gets finished up. Carpe gets bounced out. The thing that NYXL do super well there as well is, you know, they make sure that it's not free. It's not an easy res. They just maintain that pressure, maintain that tempo, and keep the aggression high, basically. They don't let Philadelphia position, which is a lot of what's been happening so far. Is like Philadelphia has just been getting position almost for free because NYXL were on the back foot. Now it's stabilized a little bit. Now NYXL starting to get results. I believe both Brigittes stunned each other out there. Pine just scoops up the headshot on the back of that one. And now, well, with all the healers dropping down, it's, you know, it's only a matter of time. 10 seconds left in it. Philadelphia Fusion got a march onto the point. I love the holding of the doors here. I love the fact that they just go super aggro just to... Like, the point isn't even to stop them getting to the point. Them getting to the point is irrelevant. The point is this, right? Mano now has prime position onto Neptuno. Okay, he can start pressuring him out straight away. And the supports from Philadelphia Fusion do a really good job of keeping Neptuno alive during doing all of this. right? They do such a good job of stalling this one out. Mana goes back in for another bite of the cherry and denies the res on EQO, which is huge because, like I said, you need burst damage, you need high DPS sources to kill through triple support. If your Hanzo is dead and the res is on cooldown, well, you're never going to flip that back, right? So that knockaway, that denial of the res was probably the moment where they just won that fight, you know, outright. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in part number 2, and, well, you can see Philadelphia Fusion running a mono support comp. Now, if you're not familiar with pro-level Overwatch, this might be going like, well, what? Let's break it down. So, running the Mercy, agile healer, can bounce between different people, top them up nicely, no problem, Marino. You have these 3 tanks. Let's take a quick glance at these guys. Sado is going to be fine. He can replenish his barrier basically as a quick 900 hit points for himself constantly. It's very unlikely that he's going to be blown up as long as he's used Fortify. Once he's used Fortify, then he can play a lot more with Neptuno just to stay alive. Hotbar can go pick up health packs, nice and agile, no problem. Diva's quite difficult to sort of finish off, and Boombox, of course, can top himself off. With the supports, well, not with the supports, so the DPS, Carpe and EQO both should be so far away, so safe, that if they're getting pressured down, well, Neptuno just flies to them, tops them up, and then they dodge whatever's coming in at them, while the rest of Philadelphia Fusion kill the tanks, or kill whatever's coming in at them. But NYXL playing an old school dive. Like, what is this? Stage 1? This is Tracer Genji. This is really old school stuff. But it's really cleverly done, and I want you guys to pay attention. I might even throw a cheeky pause in before the dive comes out, because NYXL spend so long setting up this dive. They spend so long setting up this push. They take their time with it, and I love it. You can see, right, just a moment there, that basically everyone was just sort of in the back lines, right? There's a glimmer of a blue outline. It's so difficult to see, but literally Mano and Meko are all the way back here. Sabielby's here. Pine's coming in from here, right? There's threats coming in from basically 3 directions. Do you know what they're going for? Do you know what they're gunning for? They're gunning for this man, Neptuno, not Boombox, Neptuno. They want to kill that Mercy, and they're gonna do it. They spend so long setting up this dive, setting up this angle. Carpe gets 1 kill, but it doesn't matter. There's so much just being thrown at Neptuno. He has nowhere to run to. He's got threats coming in at all sides, and it takes him down. Jonak manages to get the kill on Carpe, which is huge, because this fight isn't over. Like, killing the Mercy, this is sort of the trick with mono support, is killing the Mercy isn't enough to end the fight outright here. Widowmaker, Hanzo can both work pretty strong with independently of the Mercy. These 3 tanks can survive and fight pretty strong independently of the Mercy, but that second kill onto Carpe eliminates so much pressure. It means that NYXL can actually just start pushing this one back. But Philadelphia still have enough time. Good job by Hotbar to get back in. Neptuno, despite dropping down super early in that previous fight, is on 80% charge, does get hunted down again, does get killed again. Hotbar with a big kill on Pine is going to eliminate a lot of what NYXL can do to try and kill a couple of these. Targets. Good focus fire coming out of Boombox and EQO, managing to blow up tanks using that Zenyatta Hanzo damage. So they managed to actually sort of pop off, basically, and collect these kills. NYXL may be overestimating what they're doing. You notice that Mana was playing past the choke point, for example, playing closer to Philadelphia's spawn than perhaps he should have been. Maybe they should have just been holding the doors sort of in front of the point here, instead of going all the way through them, pushing all the way through them, because this has let Philadelphia come back in, right? This has let Philadelphia retake the point. And just a couple of positional errors means that your Winstons die. Like, they die super fast. But, crucially, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. I'm going to pause it here just for emphasis, because Boombox literally just got this. Maybe I'll replay a slow motion clip of the kill timing. Boombox must have been furiously mashing his Q button, because, oh my days, that could not be any closer. Okay, Pine goes in, cleans up with the Dragon Blade. It's going to be more than enough now. You've committed a Dragon Blade and a Valkyrie to do it. Dragon Blade Valk, nice potent combo, sets Genji up for some spicy, easy kills, and so they can just roll on through. Okay then, there is a silver lining for Philadelphia Fusion going on to this next point. Boombox already has his Transcendence available. Sado and Hotbar, Sado especially, is swapped onto this Winston, so he already has that Primal Rage. It's going to be very useful if he wants to push out Pine. If Pine starts getting a good position, for example, on the Widowmaker that he's now traded to, it'll help him. Remember what I was saying earlier about Sabielby spending a lot of time sort of between points and between fights setting up his position? He's done that now, and you can see actually that Sado is sort of behind him, scouting out a little bit, but Sabielby's already in place, so he gets this nice early burst damage onto Boombox, collects up that kill. Boombox has that ultimate. Neptuno can't get the res either because the pressure is there waiting for them, and this just continues the momentum. It continues the bleed for Philadelphia Fusion as NYXL just roll on forward, continually maintaining momentum on that point. point and continually keeping Philadelphia from just stabilizing, slowing things down a little bit. Tempo, a very important concept in pro-level Overwatch, very much in the favor of NYXL. And you can see this again. Saebiobe set up in an advanced position. He knows that if he can catch someone coming out of that doorway, the pulse bomb is basically going to land itself, right? It's such an easy position. The tanks from NYXL holding this corner sets Pine up for a nice easy kill. Neptuno has to res it, but meanwhile on the opposite side, they're diving in on the opposite side because, well, the supports just aren't there. Get the kill onto Boombox again. Res is down. No transcendence for this fight. It's dire. It's pretty dire. Sadow's just going to do what he can, but he knows that, you know, this fight is over. Let's just try and slow it down a little bit. So NYXL set a barnstormer of a time, right? They've got 4 minutes to finish out third point, but this is third point. Also, Carpe. Geez, good lord, man. That's Pine you're jumping into with an infrasight. He's very lucky to have his head on his shoulders. But anyway, right. It's a barnstormer of a time. 4 minutes, but this is Dorado third. And Dorado third, especially when Brigitte exists, is very, very difficult to take, right? This is where the game slows down a lot. This is where it starts getting sticky. Spawn advantage gets really, really heavy in defender's advantage. And this is a beautiful bit of play by Philadelphia, right? The dive commits super hard onto Boombox. Neptuno pops Valkyrie, keeps him alive. Pulse Bomb goes into the corner, but still doesn't stop Neptuno getting the res onto Boombox. Just lets Boombox come back up. Lets Boombox use that Transcendence. Lets Philadelphia Fusion push back out. Jonak even uses his own Transcendence as a trade, and Philadelphia Fusion end up winning this fight. They go so deep on the Boombox, but the Valkyrie does such a good job keeping him alive, keeping him surviving despite having like 3-4 people just pressuring the hell out of him. He dies, and then he just comes back anyway because you can't pulse bomb basically a floating Mercy that easily, so Saebiobe throws it into the corner thinking this is probably going to be enough, but the explosive radius isn't enough. So Boombox comes in, Transcendence saves the day once again because it's a really good ultimate. Okay. NYXL getting ready for the next push. They've used Infrasight as well. They know where the enemy is, so they can set themselves up. Again, another sort of iffy dragon just sort of zones out a Winston from the point. Again, I'm not the surest on EQO's dragons here on third. Like, if I had to criticize one thing, it's those dragons don't seem to be where they quite need to be, perhaps, at all times. Pine still looking for an angle on this Widowmaker. You can see sort of how limited the Widowmaker is, how careful he has to be, because Winston is always, like you can just see here, one jump away, right? Winston is always in position. A little bit unfortunately, he sort of, you know, got pulled into Jonak there and goes down. Honestly, stuff like that, seeing stuff like Winston's jumping on Widowmakers, Widowmaker getting all the supports peeling back, healing them up, is not uncommon in pro-level play, and even denying them that couple of seconds can be enough to swing a fight. So, very sacrificial play coming out of tanks quite often here. But spawn advantage is a really big deal. Boombox leaves the spawn with Transcendence, comes in, heals up his team. The tanks from Philadelphia Fusion do such a good job here surviving. EQO swaps onto the Brigitte to provide even more tankiness, even more hardiness, and especially if Pine can't land the shots, it's going to be very difficult for Saebiobe to kill people with EQO on the map, healing people up and healing these tanks. Now Valkyries come into things, all these tanks are getting 60 heal per second, they're all surviving all this damage. Saebiobe going to have a really tough time finishing them off. They dive super deep once again for Boombox, but because Neptuno can move and adjust so quickly, he swings in, saves Boombox's life. Okay, NYXL's dive has to change up what they're doing, look for another target, managed to get Hotbar, but now reinforcements coming in. EQO outskills him, Kappa, with the Brigitte combo, deletes the best tracer in the game, no problem Marino. And it's still, you know, it's still looking sort of dicey, but Neptuno with the heroic blaster play, like, comes over the wall, draws the blaster, kills Pine, reses Sado, and now Sado is going to be staying on the point. There's a Brigitte involved in the mix as well. It's going to be so difficult to remove this Winston. He's doing tons of damage to everybody he can hit as well, cleaving them with that Tesla cannon, building up an ultimate. That's going to make it even harder to remove them. Now there's 1 minute left in the clock, and this is where I sort of worry about NYXL, because, like, Pine swaps to Doomfist, Jonak throws in a spotty Transcendence. Like, why not just disengage there? You know, why not disengage there, come back in with a proper engagement? You have Transcendence, any team is low on resources, they could probably just win this if they cleanly disengage and re-engage properly on the next fight. Instead, you got this Doomfist comes out, near misses EQO, which sort of sums up Doomfist, in my mind, in a nutshell, because, you know, if that hit, maybe this goes differently, but it's Doomfist. It might not hit most times, 9 times out of 10 it feels like in pro games, it doesn't hit. Instead, this is what ends up happening to him. So yeah, NYXL seem to get a bit flustered there at the end, and this is sort of an interesting thing, I think, and this is something that is interesting psychologically, which is what happens to winning teams when they start losing. They try and use the Transcendence here to cover a desperation res, like they know they have to try and get this done. Beautiful boop there by Hotbar, knocks Arc away from the res, can't complete it, can't bring that Winston back, kills start coming through, and next thing you know, Philadelphia Fusion, well, they're looking solid on the point. They're going to wrap this one up, just to spoil it and kill all hype that is humanly possible. Right, it was one hell of a series. Hopefully you guys watched the rest of this series. This is Overwatch at its highest level, and when you start seeing nerfs coming in on heroes that you like, just to sort of round this back to that initial point, when you start seeing these nerfs coming in on heroes that you like, do take a look, do take a moment just to look at sort of what's happening at the highest level, what's happening at these sort of 4 levels of execution. I'm not saying that all balance should be determined by what's going on at the Pro League. You know, balance should be cognizant of what's happening in, you know, where most people play as well. But absolutely be aware that, you know, they're not just mercing Nerfy for one reason. They're not just nerfing Mercy for no reason. There is method to the madness. Alright guys, thank you for watching to the end. I have been Josh, as one voice amongst many, and I'll see you next time. Toodles.